please join me in welcoming Kristin Orr onto the stage.
In that when I heard about the topic of this show, I have many topics that I could choose from to discuss tonight. But I think it was no coincidence that the first conversation that I had with Dave about tonight's show was on Valentine's Day. So tonight I'm going to share with you a little bit about my relationship history. I think the best way to describe my love life is a three-ring shit show. See, for as long as I can remember, I've always tried to make people love me. I believed it was my job to make people love me. And the best way that I could do this was to kind of shapeshift. Now, this was an art that I honed over the course of many years, and so when it came to guys, I sort of cultivated this personality that is probably best described as tofu girl. So you know how tofu is kind of this white block of shit that doesn't have any taste or flavor whatsoever. I apologize if any of you are vegetarians, it's just sort of not my thing. So it doesn't have any flavor at all unless you put something with it, right? So that was kind of me. I was sort of defined by whoever it was I was with from, the first time I ever looked at a guy. And it was not because these were particularly controlling men. It was because of my own insecurity and my own desperate need to be loved that kept me from having any fucking clue who I was, like well into my 30s. So this total lack of identity, perhaps not surprisingly, led me into a string of unsuccessful relationships and 2 marriages. So spoiler alert, I am no longer married. The first time that I remember acutely kind of transforming myself to be what somebody wanted, I think I was about 11 or 12 years old, and it was at the Beachmont Roll Arena. So circa 1981, roller skating was a thing for Alex and anybody who's like well under 40. And we'd be skating around, sort of to Michael Jackson or whatever was going on, and then all of a sudden there would be a shift. And the lights would dim, and the mirror ball would come on and start turning, right? And you would hear something like Open Arms by Journey. Or, oh no, my favorite was Lionel Richie's Endless Love.
Yes!
Oh my God, right?
Yes!
So I was only 11, so I didn't really recognize kind of what that little warm feeling was, but it was Lionel Richie. So I looked around the first time this happened, and I realized for the first time that I was in direct competition with every other 12-year-old girl in that room. And I had one thought: I am fucked. Well, I didn't think that because I was 11 and I was a really good girl, but realizing that I was in competition, I thought, well, I have to take the advice of my mother and Tiger Beat magazine in order to attract the attention of a boy, and what I need to do is figure out what it is that he likes. Take an interest in the things that interest him. So I found the guy that I had had my eyes on in middle school chorus. I think his name's Brad. And I skated up to Brad, and I flattered and I fawned, and he took his comb out of his back pocket. Combed his hair a little bit, sort of flipped his hair, and I giggled and I flipped my hair. And off we skated. Now, I mean, we weren't like the high school kids who would sort of like, you know, skate backwards and forwards like that, who owned their own skates and all that. We weren't like that, but I thought I was cool, and I never lacked for a skating partner again because I knew how to get him. So move on to high school, where I felt, compete with the pretty blonde cheerleaders, and so I did what I did. I became the smart girl, the National Honor Society girl, and the president of the drama club. Well, president of the drama club really does not yield a lot of potential boys, because at that point they were all exploring their own burgeoning identities, mostly with one another. So that was sort of a dry couple years. Then in college, I discovered I had an incredible talent for drinking. And I could drink any frat guy under the table. So my identity in college was sort of drunk, ballsy theater major. So the next several years were sort of filled with drunk frat guys and closeted theater majors, and more than a few walks of shame, but I didn't get the MRS degree that a lot of my friends were hoping for. So then, I enter the big time. I go to grad school and I start marrying these clowns. And the first marriage, ring one of the shit show, was to my grad school psychology professor at NYU. Right? I mean, who saw that coming? He was 15 years my senior, brilliant, and the first time we went out for coffee, I was regaling him with some story from my childhood that was overwrought about how my mother had, you know, wounded my psyche. And he looked at me intently and he leaned in and he said, "Tell me more about that." Well, I was like hooked. Granted, he was not terribly attractive, but he paid attention to me. He loved me. More importantly, I was 28, 30 was around the corner. I thought I was running out of chances, so I did what I needed to do to seal the deal. I fawned again. I wore a lot of purple batik and big jewelry, and probably most importantly, I feigned fascination with his dissertation topic. Was something really exciting, like psychometric assessment instruments in inpatient communities. Right? It was very hot. So he proposed on New Year's Eve, and we proceeded to get married. It lasted just under 2 years, and at that point I realized he actually bored the shit out of me when the hot teacher thing wore off. So at that point it was kind of exit, professor, tell me more. My second marriage, the second ring of the shit show, was totally different. What was different about that was I had moved back to Cincinnati from New York to kind of lick my wounds for a while. And I was 30 years old, and I had a lot of therapy. And I, for the first time in my life, was not looking. So when a friend of mine made a bet with me that I lost, and I had to join Match.com for a week. It was the free trial. I did not pay. I would not pay. But when I had to join for a week for the free trial, I met this guy, and I had nothing to lose. My profile was like, yeah, I don't fucking care. What, this is who I am. And before I had an opportunity to craft a persona and don a mask, we met and we became best friends, and very quickly he became what I considered the love of my life. And about 3 months later, he moved in. About 3 months after that, it was 9/11, and realizing that life is precious and short, we decided that we wanted to be together, and we got engaged, and 3 months after that we got married. And we went on to have 2 amazing sons who are beautiful and kind and compassionate and sensitive, and who are actually my greatest success. And I was really happy. I was really happy. I had everything I thought I ever wanted for a while. And about 10 years into our marriage, my husband suffered a debilitating depression and a subsequent suicide attempt. After about 2 months of hospitalization and therapy, we were having a meeting with the therapist to discuss coming back into the house and what needed to happen. And I thought, okay, this is great. Whatever needs to be done, I'll fix it. So we're having this conversation. My husband takes a deep breath and says, okay, well, I have something I need to tell you. Most conversations I've had that start that way really don't go where I want them to. He says, well, I figured out what I need to be happy. I said, okay, what is that? Meanwhile, I'm thinking, I can change, I can fix it, I can do whatever needs to be done. He looks at me and he said, I need to live the rest of my life as a woman. And everything went black. It was like this sort of pinhole, and I thought I was going to throw up, and suddenly I was looking at myself from outside my body, and the first thought I had was, I can fix this, I will fix this, I will make this work. Well, at that point, I'd gone into this relationship myself. I didn't know who to become. I tried for 2 years. I did everything I could. We went to therapy. Was not a good sign that the therapist lived on Rainbow Lane. I swear to God. Didn't really see my side of things. So, at any rate, the whole transition is a fascinating story, but it's not my story to tell. My story is about all the collateral damage that goes with it. So I did what I needed to do. I figured out the marriage would not work for the first time in my life. I ended a relationship, moved out, and dealt with it the only way that I could, by pouring ever larger glasses of wine. And the glasses got larger, and then they became bottles, and then they became boxes that would be like, I have a bottle of red, or a box of red on the counter, and white in the fridge, and then maybe one of each behind the couch, and a couple under my bed, you know. Anyway, that is a story for another time. But long story short, I found a solution that worked for me, and ultimately decided I need to get my shit together and move on. And that's exactly what I did. So fast forward, my ex-husband and I are, don't know that I would call us friends, but we are successful co-parents. We don't live in the same city. Our children are relatively well-adjusted, and we are kind of our own little fractured, fucked up modern family. Anyway, you will note there is a third ring to the shit show. So in the several years since my divorce, I've kind of gotten my shit together a little bit. I'm sober, which has been an essential part for me in figuring out who I am and in being present with another human being, and even making it possible for me to have a relationship. So, you know, I'm single. I'm pretty high maintenance. I have kind of a big mouth. I'm impatient, I'm impetuous, and my house is not always immaculate. However, I am pretty damn smart. I'm a lot of fun. I am extremely passionate. I'm really good at roller skating. And I'm fiercely loyal. So in that time, there have been several men There have been a couple clowns in this circus, and there have been one or two who have a remarkable degree of compatibility and potential. But that story has yet to be completed. The jury is still out. In other words, I am still single. But what I have figured out is that it is much better for me to be authentic than to cater to the whims of the man of the moment. As much as I could fake it, I don't think I could fake it. I don't think I could fake it even if I tried. And frankly, I don't want to try anymore. So, bottom line is what you see is what you get. Tofu girl is no more.